Oh, you're recording? Geez, I was just kidding.
Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. Today we're talking about money again. This is a video we wanted to make in March, but our comments were turned off and we weren't able to get to your money questions from February. But today we were able to turn the comments on just for that. So we're gonna film it for you today.
Yeah, and I know many of you had awesome questions. We will try to plow through a few of them. I'm sure we're not going to be able to get all of them. We'll maybe group some things together and hopefully we'll have a good time.
Hopefully. It's always a good time when we're talking about money.
Yeah, always.
Okay, the first question is from Oshanasi. She writes a lot. I miss your guys' comments, by the way. That was not my doing, turning comments off. That is YouTube's doing. I get that question daily, at least once a day. So not everybody probably understands that, but yeah, it's YouTube's doing, and we're waiting. Hopefully they will turn them on or allow us to turn them back on very soon. She asked, is it even worth it to get into a 401k at my age of 55? My income is so limited at the moment that I hate to suffer now only to find out that it adds up to next to nothing for my future.
Well, that's a very good question, and I think a lot of details and specifics would help a lot in answering it fully. You're right, you're running out of time, and depending on how long you will continue to work. But any amount saved is better than none, I would say that. Especially if your employer matches and you're able to take advantage of the match contributions, then I would say it's still worth it to have saved something if you're able to than not.
How about if it does her employer doesn't match?
If your employer doesn't match, it might be a little different, but at the same time saving towards it. Let's say for example you retire in 10 years and at 65, if you started now, it would still be better to have 10 years of savings and hopefully accrue some interest than having nothing 10 years down the road.
Okay, here's another 401k question actually. Is it a smart move to put money into a 401k? I have been, but then some people tell me I shouldn't. What should I do? Hey,
well, and I'll follow up with the last question as well. It is a smart move, especially if you are getting a match from your employer, because you need to take advantage of that match. That's 100% return on your money. If you're in a position where you can, I would absolutely do it.
Okay, next question is, oops, sorry, I somehow cut off the name again, but it says, I love this, thanks Sarah and Solo. I will be completely paying off all of my debt within the next 9 months and I have a goal to live debt-free for the rest of my life. That's awesome. This will be the first time that I haven't had debt in over 20 years since I got my first credit card. My challenge is with savings. Anytime I have any extra money set aside, I want to spend it all on all of the things that I missed out on for the last 6 to 12 months because I live on such a tight budget to make ends meet month to month. I feel guilty spending large amounts of money when I have it and can responsibly afford it. Example, $300 on a much needed winter jacket since I just have a fleece jacket with a thin shell that doesn't keep me warm, versus more frequent smaller purchases like $40 to $50 here and there, causing all the money to disappear with next to nothing to show for it except for memories made. Do you have any advice on how to let go of the guilt, shame, feeling unworthy of spending a large amount of money on something that I need and is of good value versus wasting money on things that can't be returned, like going out to eat at a nice restaurant?
Well, hey, first of all, congratulations that you're on track to getting your debts all paid off, and this video is almost a month and a half out there, so hey, so maybe for 7.5 months, I hope you're still on track. That's fantastic. I do hear something that I want to maybe encourage you about. I have seen this way too many times where people pay off their debt and they work very hard to pay off credit cards or whatever, and they become debt free, and then somehow, some way wind up with more debt eventually than they had originally. And that is, you want to avoid some common mistakes that I do see, a little red flags that I want you to encourage you about. One of the most important things for you to succeed once you pay off your debt and living debt free, is that saving is absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
And so you have to be creative in ways if you are tempted to using up your savings, and maybe to make your savings not easily accessible. If that takes maybe setting up in an account that would hurt to take it more frequently, or putting it even in a different bank altogether, but don't make it as easily as accessible as your checking. So that's just one little tip on it.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have a savings for usage, an emergency savings, you will get back into debt.
Yeah.
And so because life does happen, things happen that you don't plan for. So you are focused on building two types of savings: one for using it, savings for just a rainy day, and savings for emergency and emergency only.
Mm-hmm. I would say we could speak from experience on this by making the mistake of not just being really intent on saving right away after getting out of debt. Like when we first got married, we had some student loans and we were working so hard to pay off my student loans. And then when you're done, you feel like you've kind of arrived a little bit. You know you still have to save, but if you, when you've gone a long time holding yourself back from spending any extra, you just really want to spend money. You have all these lists of things you need and want and all that. But I think making the mistake a couple times in our lives, we realized that going for the savings is the only key to staying out of debt for afterward. Is just being very intent on saving right when you're done paying off your debt, and then you don't go back into it. If you've been in a long season of paying off your debt, and long can be different for everybody, but if it felt long, and you finished and now you're working on saving and having an emergency fund, it can be helpful to, if you feel like you're able to relax your budget a little, take a little more money toward your budget than you're used to, just to help not make it feel like it's going on forever.
Absolutely.
So, but you're still being very intentional on saving. And if you continue really budgeting and making sure savings is a priority and staying to your budget, you'll still be successful, but still maybe have a little more freedom.
Exactly, and that's what I would say. It is your money, and you don't want to be a slave to your own money. Mm-hmm. And so what you want to do is make sure that if it's important to you to spend on certain things, that you actually put that as part of your budget and just predetermine your expenses.
Yeah.
So predetermine, hey, I like to do something nice for myself, mm-hmm. And I don't want to live like I want to live. So just decide that amount, and then use that. Try your best to stay in and around that amount. Yeah. And you'll have no problem at all.
As far as the guilt about how you spend the money on things that last a long time or just going out, it really is it's your money. If going out and making those memories and having fun is more important to you, budget for that. Or if it's spending money on high quality clothes, then budget for that. But so thinking of those things ahead, I think, and planning, like, okay, I want to have this money because I want to buy some good clothes, then that takes away the guilt, really. Do you agree?
I agree totally. That's what it is. That's what it is. After spending 18 years with individual families about their finances, I don't even have a count of how many I have in those many years. I would say the secret to getting out of debt and staying out of debt comes down to two very simple things. And the first one is learning how to adapt savings as a lifestyle, not just a one-time thing that you do. And secondly is budgeting. Now, those two things are very simple, but if you can work and find a way to incorporate those two things in your personal finances, you will pay off debt, and yes, you will stay out of debt. And then, of course, you have people that are living so tight that they don't have room for savings. Mm-hmm.
If we had just our main job that Solo does, which is pastoring, we would not have money to save with our large family. There's no way. We would barely be making it. So
unless we'll change our lifestyle completely.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. So sometimes you just have to find other incomes too, and that's worked well for us to always. He's always had something, and I almost always have had something extra too that I've even been able to do at home with the kids. So savings is important, and sometimes you have to fight for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but it does keep you out of debt and budgeting too.
And if you could get it to the point where it becomes a lifestyle, I mean, that's the key, you know. So anybody can save money or put money aside when they have a big, large bonus or a big, large return or whatever. But adapting it into your actual life is what really changes. That's good for you in the long term.
And that's something we're trying to even teach our kids from young too. So. Okay, what's the best savings account for the emergency fund money? You mentioned the savings account that you leave money in that keeps growing. Our credit union savings account doesn't make much at all.
Right now, just your traditional savings account and your traditional like money market account, which people typically used in years past for emergencies and whatnot, they don't pay much. That has to do a lot with the interest rate, the base interest rates that they're using. So that's not gonna change right now. You could find high yield savings accounts from certain banks. So you could ask maybe banks that are, I don't know where you live, and you could ask banks if they have any kind of high yield savings or access CD, depending on the amount of money you have in your emergency fund. Some banks will offer some type of a CD, a certificate deposit that has some access, like maybe 2 a month or once every 3 months and whatnot. So, and then allows you to maybe get a little bit higher yield. But the rate environment right now, you can't expect to make much out of a savings account.
Okay. Could we just take a little intermission here and talk about what Solo does for a living and why he knows and talks about finances? Because this question always comes up and sometimes we forget to mention it. We're not just here talking about money for the fun of it, because we make it and we spend it.
Just a little background, a little bit, I've been in personal finance for the last 19 years because I started when I was 2 years old. And
don't we wish?
Yeah.
His regular full-time job now, he is a lead pastor at our church, but this is still a side business for him. So
absolutely. So when I ran my own business, working with families and businesses with financial planning and advising, and so, but my passion has always been around the family, just helping families win. I take an holistic approach to personal finances, just to help families win. I think more families can do better than they are doing, and finances are a big deal. And so that's kind of what drove my passion. So I took a very unique approach in the way I did my business. So looking at it holistically and practically in everyday family living. So
good. Okay. I have a question. Someone posted recently that if your debt is sold from the original creditor to a debt collector, you can send the credit bureau a letter stating that because it's sold, it's paid off and they have to remove it. Is this accurate? It sounds like it wouldn't be, but just wondering.
So I do know those debts do remain in your credit report. Even if it's been sold, you still owe on the money unless it's settled and whatnot. So unless you've gone through the process of settling for an amount, having a payment, the new owner will not be on the credit report. You will run into problems if you say you wanted to go and get a mortgage, because those things will surface again and you will still have to deal with it unless it's settled. Now you can work with the credit report bureau and you can work with debtors to get it removed, but it doesn't go off automatically until so many years. I don't remember by heart right now how long a collection stays on your credit report.
I wish I would have recorded this just now. Solo had to get something. He was looking for his phone and he pulled this turkey money out of the...
Turkey?
It's probably from my dad.
It's euro, huh? No?
No, it says turkey.
No.
Out of the chair, this magnetic dress, this weird crayon, two uncapped markers,
3,
both with dark colors. This chair is light yellow, and 2 other markers.
And that's when I quit.
That's just one side. Okay, this next question is from a newlywed who is excited to start getting her shared savings account set up with her new husband. Anyway, she had a question. How do you plan your saving for something you don't know how much it will cost? I have this general feeling that kids cost a lot, but I'm clueless as to how much really. Thank you for inspiring us all.
Oh man, I haven't figured out how much kids cost yet. And they do cost a lot. Life in general takes more than just planning. Planning is so important in life and helping, but also it does take some amount of faith, because there are certain things that you have no way of knowing. And the truth be told, actually, life takes faith every day. You know, sometimes we live like we don't even know what tomorrow will bring, but we live with this hope and a sense of anticipation. Maybe we have these plans and that, but we don't really have control over anything. So I think having that as a foundation in our thinking does help us be able to kind of relax a little bit, knowing that enjoying life as a gift. But both of you, congrats on your new marriage and whatnot. You know, you're already planning to be on the right track. Well, I think if you just build some good habits where you always are saving for planned purchases and saving for the long term and living within your means, then you don't have much to worry about.
Yeah, because kids are expensive, but also at the same time, they don't have to be expensive as the world now tells us they need to be, because you don't have to have all the fanciest products and you don't have to have them all brand new, and there's a lot of things like that. And I have heard you advise people before there are some couples that have come to him and maybe one of the parents wants to stay home when they have a baby and they're thinking they want to have a baby in the next couple of years. He has advised them to try to live on just one income and save their second income. And so that could be good advice too, if that's something you're looking at in the next few years. If you're able to save one of your incomes now, it helps you when you're adjusting to going to one income, and it also helps you really build up a savings fast.
Yep, absolutely.
Do they not follow Dave Ramsey? Do you know why or why not? NJ must not have realized that we would read that question. We liked Dave Ramsey, and he has a lot of great things to say and offer.
Exactly. We don't follow Dave Ramsey. We are not against Dave Ramsey. In fact, we agree with him. I'd say we agree with him with a lot of what he has to say. Maybe our approach might be different on certain things. But on the general term, I agree with Dave Ramsey in the fact that as a culture, we use too much debt. And trying to get out of debt is absolutely a good thing. Yes. You know,
and he does have a great plan for getting out of debt that's very specific if you're looking for one. Yeah,
I'm very practical. I know it's black and white, but it gives people a basic for at least a formula to follow and help to get their lives on track. So there are a few things, not many actually, that when I am working with families individually, that I would not see eye to eye with him on that, because and generally I think one of the distinctions is he does speak to a very broad audience, and sometimes some of those practicals don't always work for each individual situation. So it might be just little things like that, but it's a great resource to a lot of people, and I met many people that have gotten their finances together well, and they've been inspired by Dave Ramsey. So I really appreciate seeing that.
Yes. Okay, I'm a 26-year-old single woman. I left college with a lot of debt. I have managed to clean up the credit cards, and I'm thinking about what I should tackle next. Paying off my car or my student loans. They have about the same balance. The car has a 3% higher interest rate and is a much bigger monthly payment. I know I can write the student loan interest off on my taxes, but I kind of want to pay it off first because it feels like old debt, a ball and chain that I can't get rid of, versus the car that I love and thus don't mind. Love watching you guys.
Yeah, cool, thanks. Congrats on paying off your credit card. Yay.
Yes.
I would say absolutely, without a doubt, pay the car off first. I know the student loans might be older debt. 3 reasons you just pointed out. 1, the payment is bigger. So when you pay off the car, you have more of an instant relief kind of thing, and you can use that extra money to pay down on your student loan. Secondly, the interest on your student loans is deductible, so you could at least have another year of that while you tackle the vehicle. And thirdly, you also have a slightly higher interest rate on the vehicle. So I would say yes, pay the car first and then start tackling the student loan. But way to go, girl.
What percentage of your income per month do you suggest putting into your emergency cash reserve?
So for emergency cash reserve, emergency cash savings, I would look at it as an amount that you want to keep in there all the time, not on a every month kind of deal. Now, if you don't have one, you look for the target amount, and if it's a couple months worth of income, and I would throw anything I can to help that I build that amount. Depending on income situation, it could range greatly from 1,000 to 10,000. It just depends with the family situation. And once you build that amount, then I would say on an ongoing savings, just expenditure savings and that kind of stuff, you could pick an amount. One good formula that people talk about to use is doing 10% of your income into savings, so that's what I would say. But I would distinct those two.
Yeah, so the emergency one, you're throwing everything you can possibly spare in there till it gets
to the target amount.
The target amount, yeah.
And then ongoing savings, and you can use it for expenses like big expenses that you end up having or planning for.
I'm a stay-at-home mom of 3, and my husband and I are struggling financially. We made mistakes when we were younger and have been digging out for years. Last year, he broke his leg, which set us back.
Wow.
We were just starting to catch up on the everyday stuff. We still have debt from before that we haven't touched since he broke his leg. This week I found out I have breast cancer, which we know is going to cost a ton. Any advice on how to handle finances during this difficult time? Oh, that is a difficult time. I am so sorry to hear that, Christy.
Yeah, well, boy, it sounds like you guys are going through a hard time. I'm so sorry about your diagnosis, and I pray that you're doing well and that you would conquer this new challenge in your life. I can only imagine what a setback this is, but just cheering you on, praying that things go well and things turn around. As far as digging out of a hole, I think sometimes it's harder and it takes more effort once you're already in the hole versus starting on a clean slate. So in those types of situations, sometimes you might have to look for additional income opportunities. That doesn't always translate like working 5 jobs, but maybe you and your husband can look into how you could maybe add supplemental income to kind of help you get ahead, because there are times where people need to cut expenses, and there are times where people need to just get more income, and sometimes you need both. So in your case, I think without knowing every specific, it just sounds like maybe an alternative way of making supplemental income might be maybe a good way, or somewhere to start.
Yeah. Yeah, because even if you're able to find something that you add or your husband can add, it sounds like you might be in a tough season to add something else on your plate. But even if it doesn't produce right away, it may be something that can give you hope that in the future you will be able to catch up quicker, because you'll have something. If you start building up something, there's a lot of ways to earn money online, and there's so many things you can do just extra on the side that can actually go well above and beyond eventually what a full-time 9-to-5 job would pay too. So
right.
But we definitely are praying for you, Christy, and believing that that the Lord has good plans for you, and he's gonna show you a way out through this. Love you, tribe of many, to the moon and back. I am
you too.
I'm Sparky Spark.
Awesome.
I am so confused. I've always been told to start with the bill with the highest interest rate or percentage rate first, I think that means. When that is paid, you go to the next. Add all of what you're paying on to the next one. In this way, it gets done faster. What's your opinion on this? Thank you, Solo.
The reason for paying the high interest rate first is that you end up saving more on interest, not necessarily paying it faster, which ultimately would in the long term. But in this case, I would say yes, that's what you want to do, unless, of course, you have smaller debts that you could just pay off quicker. Yeah. I'm more of an advocate for that, paying off the smaller. So if you have a debt with, let's say, $5,000 balance, and one is like $600, and you can pay off the $600 in the next month or two, I'd pay off the small ones first. And then once they're about equal in value, then you'll go back and start paying the highest interest rate at that point.
Because if you take everything you were paying on that smaller debt and add it to the next one and continue to keep adding it all to the next one and the next one, it does go faster.
Absolutely.
When you're paying the smaller ones first. And it gives you a lot of wins.
Yes, exactly. You just read my mind. It's like it fuels the energy of just winning and clearing something. So yeah, but that's a good question though, and a valid one. Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's all the questions we can answer today. We have kids calling us. They want us to make dinner.
Totally.
We got things to do. Thank you guys so much for leaving your questions. Since you're not able to comment yet, as far as we know, on this video, we are going to go ahead and put a poll in the on our community tab, so you can answer. We're just going to talk about a money topic next time we come back and do this. It might be in May and it might be in June. We'll take a topic, either talking about paying off debt or budgeting, or we'll have a few on there and in a poll form. So you pick which one you want to hear about, and that'll help us out. And then we'll just come and talk about that topic. So
yeah, and if they want to comment on stuff, do you want them to go on Instagram or anything?
You can come to Instagram. You can always come to Instagram. So
yeah, totally.
We're just at Our Tribe of Many over there. So thank you guys, and we will talk to you soon.